It's beginning to look a lot like Kirblogs now on your timeline. And it's about the new South Park. So listen now to me bark. It'll be sublime. So it's a lovely Friday evening. I am in between writing many anime scripts, as I talked about in the last little update video that I made. About to go get dinner, and we're, just really a few days, a little less than a week away from Christmas already. Good Lord. And I thought, it's about the holiday season, and it's appropriate, of course, not just because of, the release of the South Park post-COVID two-part special, as it turned out to be a two-parter. But I associate South Park so much with the holiday season, and as I kind of predicted, they had the first part on Thanksgiving and the second on a little bit before Christmas time, which was a good idea of them, I felt. So I don't often go on about this, but I have done a couple over the many years that I've been doing Kirblogs. I can still remember one of the very first ones I did was about the Hobbit episode, the Wendy focused episode that was one of my, I think in my first year of doing these, if I'm remembering correctly, and I've done one about like my top 10 favorite episodes or whatever, something like that. But I'm a big South Park fan. I have been for a long time. There's still to this day a chunk of episodes I probably haven't seen. Kind of in the middle, I fell in and out of it, but I got back into it many years ago, and I've been following all the seasons and now all these kind of specials that they've been doing, which I guess is now, from what I understand, and I don't know all the exact details, but I guess because of some sort of weird rights issues with the distribution and the streaming, I guess rights holders of various places, instead of doing more episodes, now they're doing these kind of mini movies for Paramount Plus, which is fine. I think it's okay that they're changing up the formula a little bit. And this came as a big surprise because I followed this show since the beginning. I still vividly remember seeing like clips of the first episode on a really shitty computer at my childhood best friends had, when I was like in second or third grade or something on their computer, watching Ike kick the baby and this little teeny tiny square shaped video file. So I've been with these characters for a really long time. And to see them suddenly age, roughly the amount of years that it's been since the franchise started, it really took me for a surprise. I truly never thought that they would do something like this, but I got really excited when I saw the first promo. And so I was lucky enough to, while I was at the lovely Tomar's place for Thanksgiving, it had premiered, I think, either the day before or that day. And so we pulled it up and watched it. And it was something else. I really enjoyed it. I kind of should have expected that they were going to make it into a two-part thing, which really, in a way, if you watch them back to back, which if I do in the future, I will absolutely be watching them all together as one thing, at least these two, because I know they're going to be doing more of them. It felt like a new South Park movie. And I know you could say that, the same thing about Imagination Land and some of the other multi-parters and things like that. The fantasy trilogy that kind of led into Stick of Truth, that kind of thing. Or the superhero ones. Love those episodes. But something was a little different about this one. Something was really special about this. And obviously, of course, it does require a little bit of knowledge about at least the season before that, maybe even in some sense, the couple seasons before that with Randy's whole Integrity Week bullshit. But, so I guess, God, where do I start with this? I guess I'll talk about the biggest thing that was the most intriguing and exciting for me. And that would be exactly what they did with each of the characters in their adult forms. And I guess in the case of the adult characters in their elderly forms. So Stan and Kyle pretty much being, I don't want to say literally Trey and Matt, because the real Trey and Matt were far more successful. Certainly visually, they were Trey and Matt, except with with black hair and red hair. But yeah, in terms of personalities, I feel like they were just like, yeah, we don't have to do anything. We're literally, because I guess really all of them in some sense were just the same voices that they've been doing, except without the, pitching up a couple semitones or whatever. But sad. And by the way, I guess I should probably mention, if it wasn't obvious also from the picture that I drew for this, spoilers ahead, of course, if you haven't seen them already. But I was very sad about the depressed, lonely wine consultant Stan. I certainly understood why. Once they got into the backstory of what was going on, with his family and everything, what he did to, what he accidentally did to Shelly, and then also Sharon, and seeing that in the beginning of the second half, peering a little bit into that part of what happened was kind of terrifying even to see. I was actually kind of surprised that they didn't go like as intense with it. I was really, South Park speed, it made me brace for, all right, they're gonna just show Shelly burning alive, and they're gonna show Sharon shooting herself in the fucking head, and to my surprise they didn't. But even what they showed was enough to really get me. But even then, when they have these gags that are sad in some sense, and they still are able to make a great gag out of them, the fact that Stan, of course, as I expected, doesn't get with Wendy, and Wendy just gets with some other random guy, because no, of course, with how their lives went, they just go off in different directions, and what the fuck ever, who cares? And as much as I love that, that couple, as I'm sure probably people that remember my taste in South Park know, I was like, yeah, no, that makes sense. All of this makes sense. But the gag played up about the shit with the like living Alexa character as like the stand-in as a close equivalent to his having a wife was so like really well utilized. Like even with some of the repeated jokes, the like the her in the middle of like giving ads, fucking didn't overplay itself, because like every time it still got me a little bit. And then as the whole thing with her escalates, and then she becomes like a fucking Terminator bot, and then they use them to help out with the kind of showdown with Cartman at the end, was very well played. So, but I was sad about Future Stan, of course, and then at the end within the fixed better timeline where he went to Mars and he comes back, and he and Wendy seem to be having a little bit of a thing. That was like, okay, that's nice to see. I'm glad this worked out okay, sure. Kyle was probably about what I expected. I think it was good to see that he had grown to be even more logical. He wasn't so much depressed. And I think it also did make sense that he was the one that stayed behind in South Park. The only thing I'll mention is, and I guess this was probably intentional, is like his career was so forgettable. I'm like, he's some kind of like consultant or something. I don't know, fucking. But it reminded me of that one Homestar Runner April Fool's thing from many years ago, where like Homestar and Strong Bad are like holding up the kind of end sign, and then they're like talking to each other. It's like, oh, what have you been up to, Strong Bad? Oh, doing some consulting, and those are things that people say when they haven't actually been up to anything lately, right? It's what I was getting the vibes of. I loved the fact that Kenny was like as this massively successful, like Nobel Prize winning scientist, not I guess maybe just because I love Mysterion so much, I was partially expecting like some kind of thing related to him being like a vigilante superhero or some shit with that. But I think that it seemed like I think that the directions they went with, I liked that they didn't do anything that you would have necessarily expected. At least I don't think so. I think that, and yet, even though it's not stuff that you would have expected, it was still, it still all made sense for all of the, maybe arguably the one that you would have expected more than anything is, Jimmy being a stand-up comedian. It's it's so ironic, the like PC culture kind of like, influence on his quote unquote comedy routines, despite the fact that like the jokes aren't funny, but because they're not funny and like what the actual context of the joke is, it's still funny. And then of course in the good timeline where he makes an actual politically incorrect joke at the end is fucking great. So yeah, Jimmy being a stand-up comedian is probably the one that would have been like, okay, yeah, I could have predicted that. Everybody else was kind of a delightful and interesting surprise. Probably more than anything else was Butters. And of course, brilliantly done, the setup of the the tease at the end of the first part where like you think, oh, did he become, did he fully embrace the Professor Chaos persona and become Victor Chouse or whatever, and then he got sent to the insane asylum. I unfortunately, and just like I am trying at the moment, I'm waiting several days before I go to see Spider-Man No Way Home. And hoping to fucking God that I don't see any spoilers anywhere. This means you, comments. I swear to God. And unfortunately, I had for like a fraction of a second, I had Butters' appearance spoiled to me in like the YouTube thumbnail of something as I was going through. Literally the day that it came out, it showed up on YouTube, and as I should have fucking expected, of course. So I knew that he, didn't look like an insane person or whatever. He just looked like grown-up Butters, of course. But what they did with him, and my God, another thing with like, oh, what's relevant lately? NFTs. And I swear to God, even as someone, I still don't even like 100% understand what the fuck even they are. Like, I have enough of an understanding to know that they're bad and to not support them unless you want your fucking career destroyed, as I've been seeing on my fucking timeline every other day. Good Lord. But I was seeing the fact that like, oh yeah, no, we can already have this as a topical gag. And of all characters to have Butters as the fucking like, well, not loan shark, but like investment shark, just like, and the lives that he destroys, and just, he leaves a path of destruction in his wake. I'm like, wow, this is that might have been the most clever gag in the entire fucking thing. I realized I didn't even finish my thoughts on Kenny. I thought that that was a nice, interesting surprise. It was also clever, of course, how they made it so that you never actually hear what he says again, or that they just never let him talk in any place where he does. And of course, he was so brilliant. Sometimes we felt like we couldn't understand anything that he was saying at all. And also, of course, him, even though he didn't get to be part of the main story in and of itself, the fact that like his presence was like the sort of like linchpin, like the MacGuffin of everything. It's, I don't know, just all the uses of them. There was so much cleverness in how the fact that like this could have been such a, this is more of a general thought, a kind of stream of consciousness in here, but whatever. This is something that absolutely could have been like a shark. And I know probably people that fell off the show felt that like the show jumped the shark many times before that, whatever. But like, I felt that this was something that easily could have been like the ultimate shark jump of all of South Park. And just the whole thing, I'm like, I love this. I just, every aspect of it, like nothing let me down. Nothing was making me like, oh, rolling my eyes or whatever, and if anything, I'm just like, oh man, I hope they maybe potentially do more stories with these versions of the characters. I don't know if they ever will. I don't know what their other plans are moving forward with these, these specials. I'm assuming that they'll probably still take another break before they come back and do another, one or two in a row, I guess. As far as a lot of the others go, it's funny. This is a weirdly related thing. I don't think I mentioned anywhere at all that like I watched over Halloween, actually, on Halloween. I watched both parts 1 and 2 of the recent It movies. Absolutely. And again, not a big horror guy. I'm slowly, starting to watch and appreciate more horror movies because of Michaela and Courtney and Germ, because they're all big into horror stuff. But I watched the 2 It movies on Halloween. So, of course, this is all tied into the last 3 holidays in some sense. I love the first one. Jesus H. Christ, I fucking hate the second one. And the way that they executed, maybe just because it was like, it was not taking itself seriously, like how It 2 was trying to, and in my opinion, really did not succeed all that, or at least it didn't succeed in making me take it seriously. But in the case of the South Park specials, their utilization of like Wendy and Token and, Tweaking Craig and Clyde and whatever. Well, Clyde was just like, I kind of didn't mind that Clyde got fucking shot in the end, because I'm just like, I've never like, I know that some people, he's probably like their favorite, probably Tumblr artists. He's their favorite character for whatever the fuck reason. But like, I've never liked Clyde. I'm just like, but I guess in that sense though, the fact that they made him like, oh, the annoying bullshit anti-vaxxer douchebag that like, God, you're fucking ruining everything. Like that, I guess worked. And so therefore I liked what they did with him as a result of that. And also he had at least one genuinely funny gag with his interacting with his past self. Like, it'll get teddies on your head or whatever the fuck. But otherwise the rest of like the friend, like the ancillary friends and stuff, I felt like it was in some sense like the same kind of purpose as most of the adult versions of the kids from the grown-up versions of them in It Too, but not as annoying or kind of cringy, to be honest. Like, no offense, like those actors I'm sure did the best that they could and everything. It's funny, of course, with Bill Hader being one of them because of the South Park connection. But yeah, I mean, it was just, I'm glad that they utilized, you know, the majority of them. You know, just about everybody was in there. God, can't believe they didn't use Pip for anything. Those fucking bastards. Whatever. And of course, Timmy, you know, for like a millisecond was good. Yeah, of course, I figured they were pretty selective about which ones they didn't, because they're all there. I could see like Bebe and the goth kids and, you know, mixed in there in the back or whatever. And Ike's little like one-off thing. I'm glad he got like one scene, which was also hilarious because I had just not experienced the fucking that Canadian shit that they had done in a long time, guy. That was a fucking blast back to like high school for me, for fuck's sake. And then there's Cartman. Good Lord. The whole fucking time, maybe just because Kyle, I've realized, even though like Kenny's my favorite character, but Kyle is, I think, actually my spirit animal when it comes down to it, because we have so much in common. And people constantly think that I'm Jewish, as people who have watched the Oni Plays fucking episode have thought. It's okay, I have a lot of Jewish friends. But the whole time I was like channeling Kyle, thinking so much like, all right, this is like Cartman hired a bunch of actors and this is all like, you know, some bullshit thing that they're doing, you know, this is all like whatever. And then at the very end, he's going to be like revealing in some way. At the very least, the fact that it turned out that it was the case. And the irony of, wow, it took the friend group breaking up and not having anything to do with Cartman anymore, that Cartman goes off and makes something of himself, of all things, you know, what he made fun of Kyle for all these years, or all, you know, however long the world is not passing time when they're kids, I guess, you know, whatever. And then otherwise, in the timeline that is good for everybody else, he's a homeless piece of shit that just tells everybody to fuck themselves because of course, like, you know. And I don't like Cartman. He's a great entertaining character. I hate him as I'm probably intended to hate him. So when he gets punished, it's awesome, at least to me. Anyway, that is a bit of entertainment value that I get consistently through South Park whenever it fucking happens, and very often it does, as I think that like that is by design. but the whole fucking time I was expecting some, you know, like big reveal of like, no, just kidding, and, you know, just shitting all over Kyle, you know, figuratively or maybe literally for all I know. Although the fact that they did still kind of use him as the closest thing that the specials had to a bad guy, you know, towards the end, and then, you know, but then the fact that he does come around, and then, you know, they do all work together to make it happen. And I should mention, of course, Randy's, you know, part in all this, and him being an idiot, continuing to just be an idiot and hilarious. See, I don't Randy has become another character that I dislike, in the sense that I hate what he does, but he is very entertaining and funny. And then again, when he gets punished or is an idiot and it is, you know, a joke at the expense of others, that is entertaining. So he serves that purpose as well. And at the same time, he served the purpose of playing a part of saving the fucking day in the end of all things, as me, the fucking boring straight edge guy who has never, you know, had a drink or smoked anything or any kind of recreational drugs in my fucking life. But even I can agree, as a Californian, and knowing that a lot of close friends of mine are chilled out and are as nice and well-adjusted as they are because they smoke marijuana. So, and you know what? I'll even say the future Stan leaving the case of that last piece of Integrity weed with the "I love you, Dad, everything's going to be okay" note, and everything after that, I was tearing up. I was actually getting kind of emotionally affected by the special. I was like, wow, I need it. And I don't know if I mean, I'm sure it's probably part the story itself being executed well, as well as, just I love these characters. And so just seeing them get to be happy was moving me. But yeah, no, I do even wonder, because of course the solution to everything, is this thing about them getting free tickets to see this fucking a football game. I think, was it a football game? Or was it basketball? I can't remember. It was a sports game. Sport ball. That's me. It goes to show how I'm straight edge and I'm not into sports. God, I'm vanilla. Anyway, or maybe I'm not vanilla. Maybe that makes me not vanilla. I don't fuck it. Whatever. Anyway, point is that I don't know if they planned that from the beginning of working on the first half, because for all I know, they might have designed these two halves in tandem with each other. That's very possible. But either way, this is, of course, they had to place something earlier in the timeline before the boys, fight and, get separated and everything. That ended up being the linchpin. So, there's a little bit of all right, we gotta figure something out that'll work for this, but that's okay. It still was on brand for the characters and everything, and it worked and all that. So, but it was a grand old time. I'm really glad that they did this. This was a lovely way to celebrate the holidays. Because I do really associate South Park with Christmas time, and they've had a lot of great episodes and season finales and things set around this time. Of course, we don't have fresh snow on the ground because it's California. We just have rain and winds, and it's getting colder, and whatever. But yeah, I am very much looking forward to. I mean, of course, they've gone back to a little bit of the status quo now, or not. Well, maybe the status quo. We'll see how much things have changed when they get to the next thing. I imagine that probably the next set of specials, because I think that they're doing 8 more of these or something for Paramount Plus. There was some article about the specifics of this new deal that they're doing, instead of episodes. But yeah, I imagine that the next one will be about them as kids again. So I look forward to that, because I still love them as they are. Part of me kind of hopes, I feel like we won't get a superhero story for a long time because of the Fractured But Whole is not that old. And I'm sure they're probably a little tired of, doing stuff with those versions of the characters in, the immediate time. So I don't know. And so much of what they've been doing lately is also, dictated by what's happening in the world. And we still don't know exactly what's happening in the world with the Delta variant and all these new strains and yada, yada. 2022 is still a very, very big question mark for all of us, of course. But, South Park is something that it's like my stories. For the people who are working adults that I try not to harp on for enjoying stuff like Family Guy or Simpsons or whatever, that it's still like a junk food sort of comfort show. That's probably South Park for me. And I'm proud that South Park is that show, because I do think that it deserves a lot of credit. I do think that it is very, very clever. And, and just more than anything, I love these characters, which is probably why this is the most detailed drawing that I've done for a Kirblog. It was also just because I wanted to do it as a drawing that I'll post, but I've never done this detailed of a piece. I've never even done a detailed piece of fan art like this in so long, which goes to show how much I love these guys. And it goes to show that I didn't draw Cartman because he's not in the good timeline, hanging out and celebrating with everybody in Denny's Applebee's Turbo Plus Street Fighter Alpha 2. So anyway, that'll do it. In the comments below, let me know your thoughts, things that you liked or didn't like, characters that you would have liked to have seen them do something more with, or that you were sad didn't get to be in there, or which one that you liked the most of all the ones that were in there if you're a South Park fan. What are you expecting for the following ones? I don't know if I'm going to have anything for the week of Christmas because I'll have work to do and other things to do. There's something I'm working on that I'm hoping will get done before the end of the year. We'll see, depending on some other people to finish some stuff. So cross your fingers for that. Could be cool. In the meantime, thanks a lot for watching, and I'll see you guys later. I'm not going home. I'm staying inside because I can't go back to New York. Oh, yeah, baby.